The first, think back to a few hours ago. You made us argue over the 3 doors here in the big hospital room. There was no way all 7 people could go through them. Lotus suggested that we sacrifice one of us. Lotus looked away awkwardly. Junpei glanced at her and continued. Then you, Ace, said, I'll stay here. Why would you say something like that? It's pretty simple, really. You didn't want us to see the dead body in the shower room. You see, if Ace stayed behind, there were only 2 doors the rest of us could go through. Doors 7 and 8. There was no way we could get through door number 3, the shower room. You knew that, didn't you, Ace? That's why you volunteered to stay behind. And here I thought you were just being altruistic. Come on now, I think that's going a bit far. I can understand if you're jealous of my bravery, but please don't devaluate my actions. I only wanted to save the rest of you. Surely you can understand my altruism. Altruism, huh? Junpei stared off into the darkness at something very interesting and lazily began to dig his persistent bit of wax out of his ear. You already knew, didn't you? You knew that whichever doors we took, we'd eventually end up back in the big hospital room. What on earth are you saying? Of course I didn't know that. How could I have? Really? Yes, yes! Pleading was not something they heard from Ace before. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, flicked it off into the darkness. Ah, well, that's cool. I've still got 2 more pieces of evidence that say you're the killer. The second is that, as I said earlier, you have prosopagnosia. And you mean to imply that a person who can't distinguish humans' faces must be a bad person? Junpei, they call that prejudice. No, I'm not that stupid. Then why? Well, before I explain, I suppose there's something I should tell you. The corpse in the shower room? It's not Snake's. What? What? Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well, as if the body wasn't Snake's. I didn't put it together right away, but there was something Clover told me. She said that Snake's left arm was a prosthetic. He lost his real arm in an accident. The body we saw in the shower room? Let's call him Guy X. Guy X's left arm was definitely flesh and blood. In other words, Guy X couldn't possibly have been Snake. Oh God. No, that's impossible. Ace had started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring. Let's say, hypothetically, that the killer didn't have prosopagnosia. If that were the case, he would immediately realize that Guy X wasn't Snake. Even if the clothes were the same as Snake's, their faces would be completely different. It would have been obvious they were different people, and yet they still killed him. Why? Why would they kill a stranger who only just shown up? On the other hand, if the killer did have prosopagnosia, it makes sense. They thought Guy X was Snake and killed him. Wait just a moment. Let's say you're right and I mistook Guy X for Snake. Even if I did, I would have no motive to kill him. Why would I want to kill Snake? I can think of at least 2 motives. 1, Snake knew about your past. If he ever revealed what he knew, that would have been really bad for you. You really didn't want that to happen. To make sure Snake's mouth stayed shut, you killed him. Oh, that's right, he's the CEO of that pharmaceutical company. I forgot that. I remembered he was the head of a company. I didn't remember what the name of it was. I just remembered it was a pharmaceutical company. 2, Snake had a grudge against you. You knew that, or at least you could have easily assumed he did. Even without exposing your identity, he was a threat to you. You never knew when you might be attacked. You could never let your guard down. Every moment was a moment he might try something. You didn't want that kind of danger hanging over you, so you... Hey, hold on a minute. For the first time since the beginning of Junpei's explanation, someone besides Ace spoke up. What's the past that Ace wouldn't want us to know? Why would Snake have a grudge against him? Look at this. He handed Santa a small piece of paper. Snake squinted at the paper and began to read. The nonary game was played once before 9 years ago. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. It was planned by the following 4 people of the Cradle Pharmaceutical Company. 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceutical Company, CEO, Gentaro Hongu. Well, I guess that's Ace. What is this? Slowly, Santa looked up from the paper. His eyes met Junpei's. It's the message from Zero. It was in the safe in the first-class cabin. Then suddenly... Give me a break! Ace's face was red and shaking. His voice was full of fury, tinged with desperation. That paper is a lie! Someone is trying to frame me! Me. You said me, right? Junpei's eyes narrowed and the trap began to close. Ace exhaled sharply. His eyes flicked off from Junpei's to anything else. Anything else. Wouldn't that mean that you're admitting you're Hongao, the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceutical? Or am I mistaken? It was as though a switch had been flipped. The color drained from Ace's face, and he realized what he'd done. His eyes went wide. Very well, I admit that much. I am certainly the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals, Gentaro Hongu. So what if I am? I don't know anything about this nonary game that supposedly took place 9 years ago. Everything on that scrap of paper is bullshit. Someone is trying to set me up, you see. First of all, Ace stammered as he tried desperately to work himself into a more tenable position. Junpei, you're claiming I did all this by myself? Think that over, alright? How could I have killed Snake all by myself? Not Snake. It was Guy X. I don't care who it was! You said the killer put this other man into door 3, right? Yeah, maybe. Then I couldn't have possibly done that alone. I couldn't have opened door number 3 with only myself and Guy X. Nope, you could have. What? What? Ace's face was tight, and his teeth were clenched. Junpei fixed him with a level stare. The trap was about to close. Actually, Ace, when you were unconscious, I took something from you. Remember when you were injected with that anesthetic and fell asleep in the big hospital room? Yeah, back then, I took this. Junpei put his hand into his pocket. No, you couldn't have! Ace's right hand moved. Junpei smiled. Got you, Ace. Your right hand tells me all I need to know. You wanted to tell me you were so worried about what's in your pocket. It's the number 9 bracelet, isn't it? Ace, Guy X, and the 9th man's bracelet. That was all you needed to open door number 3. 1 plus 2 plus 9 equals 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. That's how you killed Guy X. All by yourself, Ace! All you needed was the number 9 bracelet in your chest pocket! Ace lowered his hand from where it had stopped, halfway to his pocket. He looked down on the floor, his face hidden from Junpei. All he could see was the corner of Ace's mouth twitching like a dying fish. If you want to play innocent, that's fine by me. Go ahead, tell me I don't have the bracelet, if that's what you want to do. But if you could take off your coat and hand it to me, I'd really appreciate it. Otherwise, we'll have to take it from you by force. Right, Seven? Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. Seven cracked his knuckles with a sound like gunfire. Ace roared with laughter. He threw his arms wide and his head back and laughed, filling the room with a sound that scarcely belonged there. Then it stopped. His arms came down and his head dropped to look straight ahead at Junpei. His face was flat and cold, devoid of any emotion. "Well done, Junpei. As you so correctly deduced, I have the number 9 bracelet. I retrieved it when we were searching for the missing hardware for the red. I left the room I was supposed to search and head for the first-class cabin on B deck." His voice showed no emotion, no sense of remorse or interest. It was almost bored, as though he were reacting an especially dull corporate letter. "My purpose was to obtain the number 9 bracelet." Wow, they make this go really fast. I didn't get much of a chance to look. 9 is a potent ally in the nonary game. Adding 9 to any set of numbers will alter the digital root. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. 2 plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 1 is 12. 3 plus 9 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. As you can see, 9 is a very useful number here. With it, one can go anywhere with anyone. So I made for the first-class cabin. Ace successfully acquired the number 9 bracelet. He also found an unexpected bonus, the knife the 9th man had been holding. He slipped both of them into his chest pocket and left as quickly as he'd come. He walked down the stairs and headed back to where he was supposed to be. That was when he met Guy X and mistook him for Snake. Snake was on his way to the large hospital room and had not noticed Ace. And I didn't get to read the whole thing. He followed the man wearing Snake's clothes to door number 3. When the man stopped, he walked behind him quietly and called out, "Snake." The man turned to look at Ace. He said nothing. No words came out of his half-opened mouth. He seemed dazed, somehow, almost like a man half asleep. Perhaps he had been drugged? It didn't matter to Ace. Ace was certain the man was Snake. He knew that Snake had been part of the nonary game years before. Snake hadn't recognized Ace immediately, but he was blind. That much made sense. Maybe that's one of the people who also contributed to this game. Why, then, hadn't Snake said anything to him? Surely he hadn't forgotten what happened to him in the nonary game, but not once had he attempted to confront Ace. Perhaps his lack of sight had prevented him from recognizing Ace. Or perhaps Snake had conspired with Zero to deceive Ace. In either event, he was a threat, and it was better to deal with him sooner rather than later. Ace's mind was made up. He moved. He held the number 9 bracelet over the red. He waved his own bracelet in front of the red, and finally grabbed Snake's arm and shoved his hand against the scanner panel. The door opened. Ace threw the man through it. 9 seconds later, the door shut. 81 seconds passed. The man inside the door passed away. After that, I returned to my post as though nothing had happened. After conducting my own search, I returned to the large hospital room when the 1 a.m. bell rang. Ace's eyes were cold and his cheeks were hollow and pallid. When he spoke, only his lips and tongue moved. The rest of his face was eerily still. Junpei glared at Ace. He took a deep breath and thought about the next question he had to ask. He didn't want to. He knew what the answer would be. He just didn't want to hear it. Junpei swallowed, then spoke. "Ace, did you kill Clover?" "Yes." "Why? Why did you kill her?" "She was Snake's sister. It was possible he had told her something dangerous. Additionally, she had gone through door number 1. It seemed like she might have found it." "Found what?" "Why don't you go through door number 1 yourself? Perhaps it's hidden somewhere." Seven and Lotus interrupted. "Yeah, but Lotus..." I'm sorry, that's 7. "Yeah, but Lotus and I went through door number 1 too." "We didn't see anything suspicious." "Yes, I thought as much after I heard your report at the central stairs. I doubt the 2 of you could find it." "But perhaps Clover was different. Perhaps she had found it." I was therefore desperate to find her, and at last I did in the first-class cabin. I spoke very calmly. Did you see it?
See what?
Don't act as if you don't understand. You were in the captain's quarters, weren't you?
Huh? What are you talking about?
Very well. By the way, what are you doing here, Clover?
What? Nothing.
There's blood on your shoes. It looks fresh. Did you go take a look at the 9th man's corpse? I see. Your silence suggests that you saw something, didn't you? You saw that his bracelet was gone. Clover ran. She made for the exit, but Ace stood in her way. You aren't going anywhere! He caught her by the collar as she passed, and threw her to the floor, hard. She leapt back up, and darted past him into the hallway. Ace followed at a run. He was faster. That was how I killed Clover. His face hadn't changed. If he felt guilt or remorse, or anything one might feel after taking the life of another human being, it didn't show. You son of a bitch! Seven's whole body trembled with rage. His voice rumbled with hate. Santa's eyes were bloodthirsty, and Lotus and June's faces were distorted by anger and hatred. Ace looked at them and smiled. It was a cold, cruel thing with no humor in it. He shook his head and sighed. I admit it. I've lost. I have lost completely and utterly. But don't misunderstand, Junpei. I didn't lose to you. I lost to Zero, not you. I'm rather disgusted with myself for falling into such a simple trap. And it was a trap. Make no mistake. I was trapped and manipulated by Zero. The man I killed in the shower room, if he wasn't Snake, then I have no idea who he was. But he was wearing Snake's clothes, and that was no coincidence. He had also been injected with something that reduced his cognition and prevented him from identifying himself or resisting me. And we can't forget the components that were removed from the red before we arrived. I have no doubt that Zero planned all of this. Zero made sure I would kill that man. It follows, of course, that Zero knew everything I would do. That I would try to take the number 9 bracelet. That I would try to kill Snake. Everything. Suddenly, Junpei remembered the paper he found in the safe. He remembered the last word Zero had written on it.
I must punish them for the innocent lives they've sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved, I now state the truth. Zero.
And he remembered other words he'd heard from Clover.
I think Zero is one of us.
One by one, Junpei looked at the 5 people standing in front of him. Ace, Santa, June, 7, Lotus. Zero is one of us. No, Junpei paused. There was one more person. Snake. It was clear now that the man who died in the shower room was not Snake. That meant Snake was almost certainly still alive. I'm gonna have to cut this really quick because this video is 49 minutes long so far, and I don't want it to, stop recording, so I will be right back in a moment.